1 year had passed since the attack. Earth was not the same world anymore. Neither was the Galaxy. Fleet Marshal Yun Tae stood on the Bridge of the Remembrance, humanity's newest and largest warship. Behind him, 1,000 human vessels held perfect formation. Each one was built with technology that had not existed a year ago. Each one carried weapons that could crack a planet, but they were not here to destroy. "Fleet Marshal," Captain Kong-Wu reported, "we are approaching the Velen border. 3 of their colonies are requesting liberation." Yun Tae nodded. "Send word that help is coming." The Velen Dominion had collapsed in on itself like a dying star. After the defeat at Earth, their member species had begun to ask questions. If the Velen could not defeat primitives, how could they protect anyone? Why should anyone follow them? Why should anyone fear them? The first rebellion came 3 months after the battle. A small species called the Moric refused to pay tribute. The Velen sent ships to punish them. Earth sent ships to protect them. It was not a battle. The Velen forces saw the human fleet and ran. They did not even fire a shot. They simply turned and fled, because they remembered what had happened to their brothers at Earth. They remembered the rain of tungsten rods. They remembered dying in 0.003 seconds. After that, more species rebelled. Then more. The Velen Dominion, which had stood for 6,000 years, crumbled in 6 months. The Velen Emperor broadcast his surrender from his throne room. His voice was broken, his pride shattered. "We offer complete submission to the United Terran Coalition. We beg for mercy. We beg for peace. We will do anything, please, no more." Ambassador Yude gave humanity's response. "We do not want your submission. We do not want your empire. We want only one thing, that you never threaten another peaceful world again. Break this promise, and we will finish what we started." The Emperor agreed. He had no choice. On a neutral space station, Ambassador Yude met with representatives of 40 galactic civilizations. The great powers had come, the Pale Throne, the Oran Confederacy, the merchant guilds. But so had the small ones, the weak ones. The species who had lived under the shadow of empires for longer than humanity had existed. They all wanted to know the same thing. They all asked the same question: how? A delegate from the Pale Throne asked, "How did you defeat the Velen so completely? Your technology was primitive. Your ships were nothing. How?" Yude pulled out a small data tablet. He set it on the table and activated it. Images appeared. Human history. Wars and battles and conflicts spanning 10,000 years. From the first wars fought with sticks and stones to the nuclear weapons that almost ended everything. "This is how," Yude said. "We have been killing each other since before we could write. We have invented 1,000 ways to destroy. We have practiced war on ourselves for so long that it is part of our nature." He looked at the aliens around him. Creatures of all shapes and sizes, from all corners of the galaxy. The Velen thought they were warriors. They were children playing at war. "We are the real thing. We are what 10,000 years of fighting produces. We are what happens when a species turns its violence outward instead of inward." The room was silent. "But," Yude continued, "we do not want war. We have seen what it costs. We know the price better than anyone. We destroyed the Velen fleet, but we take no joy in it. We only wanted to live in peace. You gave us war instead." He closed the tablet. "Now we offer you a choice. The same choice the Velen never gave us. Peace or memory. Work with us and we will be allies. We will protect you. We will share what we have. But move against us, threaten us, try to take from us what is ours. His eyes hardened. "And we will remember. We will answer. And you will learn what 14 million ghosts can teach you about vengeance." General Bixora retired after the Velen surrender. She had spent 40 years as a soldier. She had commanded troops in a dozen conflicts. She had killed and watched friends die and carried guilt that never faded. On her last day in uniform, she gathered her officers for a final address. "We proved we could destroy," she said. "That was the easy part. Any fool can break things. Now comes the hard part. Now we must prove we can protect. We must prove we can build. We must show the galaxy that humanity is more than just warriors. She looked at their young faces. The next generation. The ones who would carry the future. Be strong, she told them. But be kind. Fight when you must, but never when you can avoid it. And never, ever forget why we do this. Not for glory, not for empire, but so that no child on any world has to watch their home burn like our children watched Seoul. Dr. Park Hannah established the Terran Science Initiative. Her laboratories spread across Earth and a dozen new colonies. She shared human technology with allied species, but only defensive systems, shields, medical devices. Clean energy. Never weapons. They have enough of those, she said when asked why. The galaxy does not need more ways to kill. It needs ways to live. Lieutenant Namina became the head of Galactic Intelligence. She spent her days listening to the whispers of the universe, tracking threats and ensuring humanity was never surprised again. One day she detected something new. A signal from beyond the known galaxy, old, powerful, watching. She brought it to Fleet Marshal Yun-Tae. We are not alone in watching, she said. Something else is out there. Something that has been watching for a very long time. Yun-Tae studied the signal. His face showed no fear. Only curiosity. Then we will be ready when they introduce themselves, he said. Whatever they are. Captain Kang Wu, now a commander, became the first human to set foot on an alien world as a liberator. He landed on a planet that had been enslaved by the Velen for 300 years. The people there had never known freedom. When he stepped off his ship, thousands of aliens waited to meet him. They did not speak his language. They did not understand human customs. But they understood one thing: they were free. Because of humanity. Because Earth had answered. One of them, a small creature barely a meter tall, approached Kang Wu. It held out its hand in a gesture of peace. The same gesture humans used. Perhaps all creatures knew this language. Kang Wu knelt down and took its hand. You are safe now, he said. No one will hurt you again. The creature did not understand his words, but it understood his meaning. Tears fell from its strange eyes. Freedom, after 300 years, on the Bridge of Remembrance. Fleet Marshal Yun-Tae looked out at the stars. A galaxy full of danger and wonder. A universe that had tried to kill his species and failed. Dr. Park Hannah stood beside him. They were old now, both of them. Gray hair, lined faces, tired eyes. But they had seen something incredible. They had watched humanity rise from the ashes of tragedy and become something new. Do you think they will ever try again? Hannah asked. Attack us, I mean. Yun-Tae smiled. It was a small smile, but real. They are welcome to find out. Across the galaxy, empires that had ruled for millennia now spoke of Earth in hushed voices. They told stories of the battle, of the rain of metal from the sky, of the species that had been nothing and became everything. And when they spoke of humanity, they did not speak with contempt. They spoke with respect. Earth had answered. Empires had fallen silent, and the stars themselves remembered. 2 weeks after the battle, the galaxy was still in shock. The Velen Dominion had ruled 400 star systems for 6,000 years. They had conquered thousands of species. Their fleets had never been defeated. Their name was spoken with fear across 100,000 worlds. Now, 12 broken ships had returned home carrying video of their fleet being destroyed in 4 hours. By a species they had classified as Level 2 primitives. By creatures who had not even discovered faster-than-light travel. The Velen Emperor watched the footage in silence. He saw his flagship vanish in a flash of light. He saw his cruisers torn apart by improvised weapons. He saw the face of Admiral Yun-Tae as he delivered humanity's message to the galaxy. We do not forgive. The Emperor's hands trembled. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. On Earth, humanity was changing. The United Terran Coalition had become permanent. No more separate nations. No more borders, no more old hatreds. The attack had burned away everything except what mattered: survival, unity, and the determination to never be victims again. Ambassador Uday stood in front of a camera, preparing to give humanity's first official message to the galaxy. He was a calm man, patient and thoughtful. He had spent his life resolving conflicts between nations. Now he would speak to stars. "We are humanity," he began. "2 weeks ago, we did not know you existed. We looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. You answered that question with fire. You introduced yourselves by killing 14 million of our people." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We sought no war, we threatened no one. We were simply living on our small blue world, dreaming of the future. And you decided to end those dreams? You decided we were nothing, that our lives had no value?" His voice hardened. "You were wrong. Earth does not kneel, Earth does not forget, and Earth is no longer alone in knowing how to make war. We have practiced it for 10,000 years, against each other, against ourselves. It is our oldest skill and our deepest shame. But now we turn it outward. Now we point it at those who would destroy us." He leaned forward. "This is our introduction. Remember it." The message spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. Every civilization with a receiver heard it. Every empire, every federation, every small world hiding in the darkness. And they listened. In a small room aboard Aegis Station, analyst Shin Era worked to understand the galaxy humanity had just entered. She had spent 2 weeks studying intercepted communications, mapping political boundaries and learning about the powers that ruled the stars. What she found was a hierarchy. A brutal, simple system where military strength determined everything. The strong ruled. The weak served. And at the top sat a handful of ancient empires who had maintained their position for thousands of years. The Velan Dominion had been one of them. "We were classified as Level 2, Shin Era explained to the Coalition Council. "That means we were not even worth talking to. We were resources. Animals to be cleared away so they could take our planet." General Beak Sora frowned. "And now? How do they see us now?" Shin Era smiled. "Now they do not know how to classify us. We jumped from Level 2 to somewhere in the top 50 civilizations in the galaxy in one battle. They have no category for that." "They are afraid?" Admiral Yuntei said. It was not a question. Terrified. Shin Era confirmed. "The Oran Confederacy has pulled their ships back from our region of space. The Pale Throne, the oldest empire in the galaxy, has sent observation probes but keeps them at extreme distance. The merchant guilds have frozen all plans to expand toward our system." She pulled up a map of the galaxy. Thousands of stars, millions of worlds, and humanity was a single dot among them. "But there is something else," she continued. "The galaxy is not just empires. There are smaller species, weaker species, races that have been conquered and enslaved for generations. They are watching us too, and they are asking a question." "What question?" Uday asked. Shin Era looked at him. "They are asking if we might help them." In her laboratory, Dr. Park Hanna had not slept in days. Alien technology surrounded her, taken from crashed Velan ships. She understood most of it now: shield generators, weapon systems, communication devices. And the prize, their faster-than-light engine. It was elegant, beautiful even. A way to fold space itself, to step from one star to another in moments instead of years. The Velan had used this technology to build their empire. They had guarded its secrets jealously, sharing it with no one. Now humanity had it. 6 months, Hanna told the council. "In 6 months I can have our first FTL-capable ship ready for testing. In a year we can have a fleet." Yuntei nodded slowly. "And then we have work to do." A single transmission arrived from deep space. It came from the Pale Throne, the oldest civilization in the known galaxy. 20,000 years of history. 1,000,000 star systems. Power beyond imagination. The message was short. "We would speak if you permit it." The coalition debated for 3 days. Some wanted to refuse. Some wanted to demand payment for the attack. Some wanted to threaten war. Ambassador Uday simply smiled. "They are coming to us," he said. "The oldest empire in the galaxy is asking permission to speak with a species that did not know they existed 2 weeks ago. That is not weakness, that is power." He looked at the faces around him. leaders who had once been enemies, generals who had once pointed weapons at each other, scientists who had competed for funding and glory. Now they were one people, one planet, one voice. We will speak to them, Uday decided. We will listen, but we will never forget what we learned. The galaxy does not respect kindness. It does not reward peace. It only respects strength. He stood up, so we will be strong, not to conquer, not to destroy, but to ensure that no one ever does to another world what the Velen did to us. Across the galaxy, species who had lived under the boot of empires for centuries heard humanity's message. They heard the words, "Earth does not kneel," and felt something stir in their hearts. Hope. For the first time in generations, hope. The game had changed. A new player had entered, and nothing would ever be the same. At exactly midnight, 47 orbital platforms woke up. For 4 days they had floated in space like dead machines. The aliens had scanned them and seen nothing interesting. Just old satellites, probably communication equipment, probably useless. Not worth destroying. Now, panels slid open. Weapons powered up. Targeting systems locked onto 200 alien warships. The Velen commander was drinking a victory toast when his officer screamed, "Commander! Energy readings!" Massive energy readings from the planet's orbit. The commander turned to his screen. He had 3 seconds to see the red warnings flash. 3 seconds to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. Then the first tungsten rod hit his ship. It was a simple piece of metal, 2 meters long, 30 centimeters wide. Nothing special about it except its speed. It traveled at 40% of the speed of light. At that velocity, it carried more energy than a nuclear bomb. The Velen flagship did not explode. It simply ceased to exist. One moment, a kilometer-long warship full of crew and weapons and shields. The next moment, a cloud of atoms spreading through space. The commander never felt anything. He was alive, and then he was not. 0.003 seconds. That was how long it took for humanity's answer to arrive. Admiral Yunte watched from Aegis as 10,000 rods launched from the orbital platforms. They fell like rain made of death, silent, beautiful, unstoppable. The Velen shields meant nothing. Their advanced technology meant nothing. You cannot build a shield against physics. You cannot stop a piece of metal moving at 120,000 kilometers per second. Ship after ship vanished. Explosions filled the space around Earth, so bright that people on the surface could see them during daylight. Each flash was an alien warship dying. Each flash was humanity's rage made visible. Direct hits on 140 targets, Captain Kong Wu reported. His voice shook with fierce joy. Confirmed kills. They are breaking formation, Admiral. Do not let them regroup, Yunte ordered. Launch second wave. But the orbital platforms were not the only surprise on Earth's surface. Dr. Park Hannah sat in a command center, her hand on a switch. Around her, engineers monitored screens showing the remaining Velen ships. Their shields are still up on the survivors, someone reported. Hannah smiled. Not for long. She pressed the switch. Across the planet, hidden transmitters activated. They sent out a signal on the exact frequency of Velen shield technology. But instead of powering shields, the signal overloaded them. It was like pouring too much electricity into a light bulb. The bulbs burned out. In space, the remaining Velen ships suddenly went dark. Their shields flickered once, twice, and then died completely. All enemy shields down, Kong Wu shouted. They are defenseless. From hiding spots around Earth's orbit, human ships emerged. They were not warships. They were mining vessels, cargo haulers, and transport craft. Ships built for work, not war. But in the last 4 days, engineers had welded weapons onto every one of them. Railguns made from industrial equipment. Missiles built from mining explosives. Captain Kong Wu led the attack. His ship, a converted asteroid miner called the Iron Fist, dove straight at a Velen cruiser. Its makeshift railgun fired once. The shot punched through the cruiser's hull like a fist through paper. This is for Seoul, Kong Wu screamed into his radio. This is for every person you killed. All around Earth, the same scene repeated. Human ships swarmed the crippled Velen fleet like angry insects. They were smaller. They were weaker. They were improvised, but they were furious. And fury is a weapon too. 4 hours. That was all it took. In 4 hours, humanity destroyed 188 alien warships. Ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Ships that had never known defeat. Only 12 Velen vessels survived. They ran. Their engines burned at maximum power as they fled toward the edge of the solar system, toward the safety of hyperspace. Admiral Yunte let them go. He wanted them to escape. He wanted them to carry a message. He opened a broadcast on every frequency. He knew the galaxy was listening. Other civilizations had detected the battle. Other eyes were watching. Other ears were open. You came to our home, he said. His voice was calm, cold, and absolutely certain. You killed our children. You burned our cities. You gave us no words, no warning, no mercy. He paused. So we will give you none. We remember what you did. We answer what you did. And we do not forgive. The transmission ended. On the surface, General Beak Sora led ground forces to capture the remains of crashed Velen ships. In the wreckage of one, they found a survivor. A Velen officer, badly injured, staring at the human soldiers with eyes full of terror. Beak Sora stood over him. You thought we were weak, she said. You thought we would be easy. The alien tried to speak, but only blood came out. Tell your leaders something, Beak Sora continued. Tell them that Earth remembers. Tell them that we are coming. And tell them... She leaned close. Tell them to be afraid. The Velen officer died before he could tell anyone anything. But that was fine. The 12 ships that escaped would deliver the message. In space, the wreckage of the Velen fleet drifted around Earth like a new ring. Humanity's first victory against an alien enemy. The first of many. Dr. Park Hana stood in her laboratory, surrounded by captured alien technology, engines, weapons, and most importantly, the device that allowed ships to travel faster than light. She began to take it apart, to understand it, to copy it. In a few months, humanity would have its own ships capable of reaching the stars. In a few years, humanity would have fleets. The Velen Dominion had come to destroy a primitive species and claim their world. Instead, they had given that species the keys to the galaxy. And across the stars, for the first time in 10,000 years, the Velen Dominion's emergency beacon activated. A signal that meant one thing: we are in danger. The galaxy heard it and fell silent. Something new had entered the game. Something angry. Something that had been attacked without cause and had answered without mercy. Humanity was awake. And the universe would never be the same. 72 hours passed. Earth was quiet. The alien fleet, which called itself the Velen Dominion, watched from orbit and saw exactly what they expected. Fires burning in ruined cities. Refugees fleeing in all directions. Governments sending desperate messages to each other, begging for help that would never come. The Velen commander sent his report to the Dominion Council. The primitives are frozen in terror. They have no ships capable of reaching us. Their weapons cannot touch our shields. I recommend we proceed with ground invasion in 3 days. The system will be ours within the week. The council approved. It was routine. They had done this to hundreds of worlds, but the Velen commander had made a mistake. He saw chaos and thought it was fear. He saw silence and thought it was surrender. He was wrong. Deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland, the leaders of every nation on Earth sat in a single room. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and kings. People who had been enemies for generations. People whose countries had fought wars against each other for centuries. None of that mattered now. General Beak Sora stood at the front of the room. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had commanded armies. She had won battles that seemed impossible. Now she faced the greatest challenge of her life. We have 72 hours before they invade, she said. Our missiles do not work against them. Our guns do not work. Our bombs do not work. If we fight them the way we have always fought, we will lose. A Russian general slammed his fist on the table. Then what do you suggest? That we surrender? Sora smiled. It was not a friendly smile. I suggest we stop fighting like humans fight each other. I suggest we fight like humans fight extinction. She pressed a button and a face appeared on the screen. Engineer Cho Jin, a man who had spent 20 years working on a project so secret that only 12 people on Earth knew about it. Project Hammer, Cho Jin said. 30 years ago, we began building a defense system against asteroid impacts. Orbital platforms that could launch tungsten rods at extreme speeds, fast enough to destroy any rock before it reached Earth. He paused. We finished the project 5 years ago. We have 47 platforms in orbit. Each one can launch 500 rods. Each rod travels at 40% of the speed of light. The room went silent. 40% of light speed? The Russian general whispered. That is ... Fast enough to kill anything, Sora finished. No shield can stop a piece of metal moving that fast. Physics will not allow it. On another screen, Dr. Park Hannah appeared. Her face was bruised, her arm in a sling, but her eyes burned with fierce determination. I have been studying the debris from one of their drones. Their shields work on an energy frequency. Our technology can match it? More than match it. I can build a device that will overload their shields completely. They will be defenseless. The room erupted in voices, hope, anger, determination. For the first time since the attack, the leaders of Earth saw a path forward. Sora raised her hand for silence. There is one condition. We must remain completely silent. No transmissions. No movement they can detect. We must let them believe we are broken. We must let them come close. And then ... She looked at every face in the room. Then we show them what humanity does to those who try to kill us. In orbit, aboard the station Aegis, Admiral Yunte received his orders. Complete radio silence. All ships powered down except for basic life support. Make the enemy think Earth's space forces had given up. Captain Kong Wu stood beside him as they watched the last transmissions go silent. This is hard, sir. Pretending to be defeated. The Volf does not show its teeth until it is ready to bite, Yunte replied. Let them think we are sheep. Let them come close. Let them feel safe. On Earth, Lieutenant Namina worked in a small room filled with machines. She was a communications specialist, trained to intercept and decode enemy signals. For 3 days, she had listened to the Velen fleet talking to each other. She did not understand their language, but she understood patterns. She understood tone. And what she heard made her smile. The aliens were bored. They joked about the primitive humans. They complained about how easy this mission was. They talked about what they would do when they returned home, how they would spend their rewards for conquering another useless world. They did not see humans as a threat. They saw them as insects, as nothing. Mina saved every recording. When this was over, she would play it for everyone. Let humanity hear how their enemies had laughed at them. Let that anger burn for generations. In the underground bunkers, 2 billion people waited. They had been evacuated from cities in secret, moved through tunnels and underground railways that the aliens could not see. They sat in darkness, holding their families close, and waited for the signal. Above them, on the surface, fires still burned. Smoke still rose. It looked like a world in chaos, a world defeated, but beneath the surface, humanity was not defeated. Humanity was loading weapons. Humanity was running calculations. Humanity was preparing the greatest counterattack in history. The Velen fleet moved into low orbit, preparing to land their ground forces. They did not bother to scan for threats. Why would they? The primitives had no weapons worth mentioning. This was simply cleanup. On Aegis, Admiral Yunte watched the enemy ships descend. They were close now. Close enough, he turned to his crew. Their faces were hard, ready, hungry. When I give the signal, he said quietly, we do not stop until they understand what they have awakened. Every ship, every weapon, everything we have, Until they are dust. Kang Wu nodded. Yes, Admiral. Yunte looked at Earth below him. At the scars where cities had been. At the graves of 14 million people. They wanted our silence, he said. Now they will hear our answer. The clock struck midnight. And humanity stopped being silent. Admiral Yunte stood at the window of the orbital station Aegis, watching Earth spin slowly below him. The planet looked peaceful from up here. Blue oceans, white clouds, and the lights of cities glowing in the night side. He had spent 30 years protecting this view. 30 years of training, planning, and preparing for threats that never came. The threats he prepared for were asteroids, rogue nations with nuclear weapons, solar flares, human problems. He never prepared for this. The first warning came at 1432, Universal Time. A young officer named Kang Wu looked up from his screen with wide eyes. His face had gone pale. Admiral, he said, his voice shaking. We have contacts. Many contacts. They just appeared. Yunte walked to the tactical display. 200 red dots filled the screen, arranged in perfect formation. They had come from nowhere. One moment, empty space. The next moment, a fleet? What am I looking at? Yunte asked. Unknown, sir. They are not ours. They are not from any nation on Earth. Yunte felt his heart go cold. In all of human history, they had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. And it came in the form of warships. He opened a channel to Earth's Defense Command. This is Admiral Yunte aboard Aegis. We have contact with unknown vessels. Repeat, unknown vessels. This is not a drill. For 17 minutes, nothing happened. The alien fleet simply waited. Yunte tried every communication frequency. He sent greetings in every human language. Mathematical sequences. Radio waves. Light signals. Anything that might say, we are here. We mean no harm. Talk to us. The aliens did not respond. At 1449. The fleet moved. 3 massive ships broke formation and descended toward Earth. Yunte watched them fall like meteors, their hulls glowing with energy he could not understand. He gave orders. Earth's defense satellites locked on. Missiles launched from ground stations. The missiles never reached their targets. They simply stopped in mid-flight and fell apart as if invisible hands had torn them to pieces. Then the alien ships opened fire. The first beam hit Seoul. Yunte saw the flash from orbit. A white light, brighter than the sun, that lasted for 3 seconds. When it faded, a crater remained where 12 million people had lived. He could not speak. He could not move. He simply watched. The second beam hit Sao Paulo. The third hit Cairo. 14 million people died in the first hour. 14 million lives ended by beings who had not spoken a single word. In an underground laboratory beneath what had been Seoul. Dr. Park Hannah crawled out from beneath a collapsed ceiling. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. Her ears rang. Dust filled her lungs. Around her, her colleagues lay dead or dying. She had been working on energy research. Clean power for cities. Better batteries for cars. Simple things. Good things. Now she looked at the destruction around her and felt something change inside her chest. The scientist in her wanted to understand what had happened. The human in her wanted something else. She wanted answers. A piece of metal caught her eye. It was not from the building. It was smooth, black, and covered in symbols she had never seen. A piece of the enemy. It must have fallen from one of their ships or drones. She picked it up and held it close. I will learn your secrets, she whispered, and then we will show you ours. Back on Aegis, Admiral Yunte finally found his voice. The alien fleet had stopped firing. They simply waited again, as if the attack had been a small task, barely worth their attention. Captain Kang Wu stood beside him, tears running down his young face. Sir, what do we do? What can we do? Yunte thought of his daughter in Seoul. She had been visiting her grandmother. He would never see her again. He would never hear her laugh or hold her hand or watch her grow old. The grief would come later. Now there was only cold clarity. He walked to the main communication console and opened a channel to every ship, every station, every radio on Earth. His voice went out to 8 billion survivors. "This is Admiral Yuntei," he said. "What you have witnessed is an attack. An attack without warning, without reason, without words. 14 million of our people are dead. 3 of our greatest cities are gone." He paused and looked at the alien fleet on his screen. They did not speak. They did not warn. They looked at us and decided we were nothing, that our lives did not matter, that our world was theirs to take. His hands tightened into fists. "Remember this. Remember their silence. Remember what they think of us. And know that we will answer. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon." He ended the transmission. On Earth, in bunkers and basements and ruins, people heard his words. Some wept, some screamed, some sat in silence, but in every nation, in every language, the same thought began to form. The same question that burned in every human heart: what have they awakened? As night fell over the wounded Earth, the global emergency broadcast systems activated. Every screen, every radio, every device displayed the same message. Mobilization Protocol Omega, all nations, nitrogen monoxide exceptions. The aliens watched from orbit, satisfied. The primitives were scared. In 3 days, perhaps 4, this would be over. Another world cleansed. Another system claimed. It was routine. They did not notice the silence that had fallen over Earth. They did not understand that human silence was not surrender. It was preparation. And soon, very soon, they would learn what happened when humanity stopped talking and started answering.